For 6 weeks, this World Cup argued about one thing: offside, where the line falls, how far back VAR should reach, whether the technology serves the game or swallows it. 3 federations filed complaints. 50 European lawmakers demanded an investigation. FIFA's head of refereeing said nobody was allowed to question his officials at all. And then, in the 106th minute of the final, the tournament ended on a goal that, according to live match reporting, looked offside. Spain are world champions, 1-0. And the ball that decided it was struck by a man who may have been half a step early. So let's go through this properly, because there is a lot to untangle, and almost none of it is simple. What actually happened at MetLife Stadium? Was Argentina beaten or dismantled? And does the manner of that winning goal actually matter, or is it the last, tired echo of a tournament that spent 6 weeks looking for someone to blame? Start with what is not in dispute, because the raw numbers here are genuinely staggering. Argentina, the defending world champions, the team of Lionel Messi, a side that had come from behind in round after round, did not register a single shot on goal for the entire match. Not one. In the first half, they did not take a shot at all. 0 touches inside Spain's penalty area. Their first attempt of any kind came deep into the second half, from Messi, and it cannoned off Mikel Merino's face. Merino throwing his own body in the way and needing treatment afterward. Read those numbers again, because they describe something rare. This wasn't a tight final decided by a moment. This was a suffocation. Lionel Messi, in what is almost certainly the last World Cup match of his career, finished with 15 touches of the football. 15. Across the pitch from him, 19-year-old Lamine Yamal had 26. The generational handover people had been writing about for weeks, did in 5. In a dramatic duel. It happened in the possession statistics. And yet, and this is the part that makes the scoreline so strange, Argentina were still in it. Until the 106th minute. How? One man, Emiliano Martínez, the Argentina goalkeeper, made 11 saves. That is a World Cup final record. Nobody, in the entire history of this fixture, has made more. He kept a team that couldn't produce a single shot on target alive for nearly 2 hours against the best defensive side of the modern era. Then came the 90th minute, +3, and everything shifted. Enzo Fernández, Argentina's midfielder, the man who had scored equalizers against both Egypt and England on this run, was sent off. In stoppage time of a World Cup final, Argentina would play the entire 30 minutes of extra time with 10 men against 11. Now here's where the story turns, and where you have to sit with something uncomfortable. Because for 6 weeks, that exact scenario has been the story of this tournament, just pointed the other way. Switzerland played over an hour of their quarterfinal, a man down after Briel Embolo's red card, and Argentina pulled away. Egypt had a goal erased by a VAR review that reached deep into the build-up, and Argentina scored 3 times. England outfouled nobody and got booked first, and Argentina won it late. 4 rounds. 4 opponents who walked off believing something had been taken from them. And in the final, Argentina were the ones down to 10. Argentina were the ones defending for their lives. Argentina were the ones who needed a whistle to go their way, and it didn't. Then the 106th minute, Ferran Torres broke through in the second period of extra time and finished. Spain won, Argentina nothing. And in the live coverage, as the celebrations began, came a note that has now traveled around the world. Torres appeared to be just offside when he made his run. Let me be extremely careful here, because this is exactly the kind of moment where channels lie to you, and I'm not going to. That observation comes from live match reporting, made in real time, at full speed, by people watching a screen. It is not a FIFA statement. It is not a confirmed error. It is not proof of anything. The goal stood, which means the officiating team, with Slovenian referee Slavko Vincic in the 2, and VAR now stationed inside the stadium. A change FIFA made after the backlash earlier, and FIFA made, either checked it and found it legal, or found the margin too fine to overturn. Offside is a factual call. A line either crosses or it doesn't. And unlike the fouls and the dives and the reachbacks that caused all the fury this summer, this is the one category of decision the technology is actually built to settle. So the honest verdict is this. A World Cup final was won on a goal that some observers, in real time, believed was marginal. That's it. That is the whole claim. Anything more than that is invention. But here's the bigger issue, and it's the reason this ending lands the way it does. Think about what this tournament has been. It began with a referee turned away at an airport. It ran through Egypt's formal complaint, Senegal's 7-minute penalty review, Switzerland's red card under a brand new rule, England's manager raging on a touchline. It included a governing body that rewrote a suspension after a phone call from a head of state, 50 members of the European Parliament demanding an ethics investigation, and Pierluigi Collina telling the entire football world that the integrity of his officials was beyond state question. And then, quietly, FIFA moved its VAR operation into the stadiums for the semifinals, after insisting for a month that nothing was wrong. That is the context this final arrived into. A tournament that had spent 6 weeks teaching its own audience not to trust close calls. So when a winning goal in the 106th minute looked tight, the reaction was instant, and it was global. And it did not matter whether the call was right. FIFA had already spent the credibility it needed for anyone to give it the benefit of the doubt. That's the price of this summer, and FIFA paid it in the very last minute of it. Now, let me be fair, properly fair, because there's Crowdwages. Spain did not need help. They went through this entire World Cup undefeated. They conceded exactly 1 goal in the whole tournament. They beat Austria 3-0, knocked out Portugal, beat Belgium, and suffocated France 2-0 in the semi-final. And in the final, they held the defending champions to 0 shots on goal. 0. You cannot referee that into existence. You cannot hand a team a performance where the opponent doesn't manage a single effort on target across 120 minutes. That was control of a kind this tournament had not seen from anyone else. And pretending otherwise disrespects a genuinely historic side. And Argentina lost the final the same way they nearly lost 4 earlier rounds, by being second best for long stretches and hoping to survive. This time, there was no late escape. Sometimes the story just ends. Think about what that means for the 2 men everybody came to watch. Messi's clearest chance came in the 5th minute, Julián Álvarez slipping him through with only Unai Simón to beat. Messi sprinted. The goalkeeper got there first. That was it. That was the moment. 39 years old, one last World Cup, and it came down to a foot race he lost by a stride in the opening minutes. Across from him, Lamine Yamal, 19, the boy Messi once held as a baby in a charity photograph at Camp Nou, walked off a world champion. Football does not always write clean endings. Sometimes it writes honest ones. And for the fans, the split is exactly what you'd expect. Spain's supporters have a champion built on the purest evidence in the sport. They were better than everyone, every single week, and the trophy proves it. Argentina's supporters have a goalkeeper who set a final record in a losing cause, a captain who barely touched the ball, a red card in stoppage time, and a winning goal they will be re-watching frame by frame for the rest of their lives. So where does this leave the game? Probably here. This tournament has made it impossible to ignore the difference between calls a machine can settle and calls a human has to judge. Nobody riots over a measured offside line. Every single fight this summer was about the subjective ones. And FIFA's real problem going into 2030 isn't the technology, that after 6 weeks of statements, reversals, and a VAR operation that quietly relocated mid-tournament, a large part of its audience no longer believes what it's told, even when what it's told is true. That's the damage. Not 1 goal in the 106th minute, all the ones before it. So I want to hear from you, honestly and respectfully, because there's a real debate here. Do you think that winning goal deserves proper scrutiny? That a World Cup should never be decided on a margin that fine without the world seeing the evidence? Or do you look at 0 shots on goal, 1 goal conceded in an entire tournament, and an undefeated run, and conclude that Spain would have won that match 100 times out of 100 regardless? Both positions are defensible. Tell me which one you hold, and why. And if you're an Argentina fan tonight, say your piece too. You've earned it. History doesn't forget how this felt. It only decides who was right.